Okay guys, so today's video is going to be on the progressive movement, and it's going to be from 1900 to 1920. Now, why did the progressive movement begin? One, to progress, right? Progressive movement, to progress. Progress is to make better, right? Mainly middle class city dwellers, right? The middle class were the ones that were the progressives. And basically it was to correct the political and economic injustices. Now remember, the word political means government, economic means money. And it's just people fighting for equality and rights. Where does the progressive movement come from? It's going to be mainly religious. Protestant evangelists, also from journalists, the muckrakers like we went over on Tuesday, and the populists like we went over today. Becomes a moral responsibility. Moral means that you're doing the right thing, all right? Moral responsibility, and we took a scientific approach, which we'll be going over that in class. Now, the social gospel movement. Social gospel. Social meaning people, gospel meaning it's more of a religious term. So it was led by Protestant ministers, right? Protestant ministers. They wanted to end child labor and to make working conditions safer. All right, that's how it first began, through the social gospel movement. Also, during this time, the Salvation Army was created, and we know that the Salvation Army is there to help other people, immigrants, the poor, the homeless, right? Anyone in need. And they also supported the temperance movement. Temperance means no alcohol, right? It means no alcohol. And that's the 18th Amendment and prohibition, right? So whenever I mention the 18th Amendment, that means prohibition. The era where alcohol was illegal. You could not sell or drink alcohol in the United States at this time. And again, temperance means the same thing. Now here you're going to have a flyer, and it says, lips that touch, liquor shall not touch ours. And of course you have these females, right? It's predominantly led by females. And basically what they were telling their men is that if the men were to drink, that they would not have wives, right? But then again, who would want to touch these lips, right? Of these ladies right here. I'm just playing. But yes, it was led by women, and they felt that alcohol was the root of all evils. All right, so we'll be going into that a little bit more into detail in class. You have socialism. The Socialist Party is now created. This is going to be for the 1904 presidential election. You're going to have another third party. And what they wanted to do was end capitalism. And government should take full control of business, right? Where government has control of business. And that's the Socialist Party. And then the last thing we're going over are the muckrakers. These were your investigative reporters. They exposed corruption and wrongdoings, and they raked up the muck or dirt of American life. And here in this political cartoon, you can see one of our progressive presidents, Teddy Roosevelt, mucking or raking up all the muck, right? You can see that there in the United States. So you're going to have the Meat Inspection Act, any scandals that you have down here, and of course the rake itself has the word investigation on it. Right, so they're investigating and they're seeing, you know, what is wrong in the United States. And these journalists are the ones who expose that. Now, 5 journalists that we're going to be going over are the 5 famous muckrakers. Right, one is Ida B. Wells, and she's against anti-lynching. She launches an anti-lynching crusade in the South, and we've gone over what lynching is. Jacob Riis, and he writes on immigration. His book is How the Other Half Lives, and that's what we'll actually be going over in class tomorrow. And then you have Lincoln Stevens, who exposed corruption. That's this guy right here. You have Frank Norris, and he wrote the book The Octopus, and he talks about how the railroad companies have full control over farmers in California. And then the last one is probably one of the most famous ones. That's Upton Sinclair here. And basically what he wanted to do was to go into the meatpacking industries to expose big business. And ultimately he finds out how unsanitary the meatpacking industry was. So that's another thing that we'll be going over in class.